Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's speech contest Q&A session. My name is Linda Rogers, and I am the District 14 contest chair this year. Other members of the team include J.D. Dirkschneider, Laura Olson, Joanne Sheets, Trina Mackey, and Debbie Thompson. On behalf of the team, we are glad that you are here today for another Q&A on speech contest. Before we get started, we are recording today's session, so I am going to read in full the District 14 photo and video release statement. By attending this training event, I consent and authorize District 14 to copyright, use, and publish any of the images in any format, photographs, videos, etc., taken of me. I understand these images may be used for a variety of purposes and may appear on the District 14 website, social media, promotional materials, or any other media. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you of some Zoom navigation etiquette tips. First, for your audio, please keep yourself muted unless you are speaking tonight. Please leave your video on if possible. Remember that as I'm sharing this PowerPoint, you can use the side-by-side view to show the PowerPoint on the left and have thumbnails of people on the right. And then chat is available. You can privately chat with someone else or chat with the entire group. Before we get started for today's session, I want to remind you of the contests that are being done and the deadlines for those. By now, you should be aware that Table Topics and International Speeches will be done this year. The Table Topics is occurring now. The clubs need to identify their contestants by the end of October. Areas will have their contest in November. Divisions can have their Table Topics contest in December or wait until March and combine it with the International Division level contest. And then in April, the district contest will take place for Table Topics on Friday, April 28. The International Speech Contest will start in January, with the clubs doing their contest in January. Area contest will occur in February, division in March, and then on April 29th at the district annual conference will be the international competition. You should also be aware by now that the format used for these contests, in person, online, or hybrid, is as follows. Club contests can be any way you want, in person, online, or hybrid. The area and division level contests need to be online only, and the district contest will be hybrid. You've also heard us talk about the two-step speech contest training sessions. Please watch the contest training modules on the District 14 Training's YouTube channel. Then come to the scheduled Q&As to get any questions you still have answered. Most months, these will be on the third Saturday and the third Wednesday, but there will be some months when we will not be having training. Please put your questions in chat, and then our chat masters will consolidate them and we'll talk about them later in this training session. We have a number of things we want to share with you first, which will probably answer many of your questions. But anything you still have, please put your questions in chat. I now turn control over to Toastmaster Laura Olson, who will direct us through the polls. Laura?
Thank you, Linda, and welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you with us this evening. We just want to start out with a few polls to see how everyone feels about speech contests. So I am going to go ahead and launch our first poll. Poll number 1, which training videos did you watch before attending today's question and answer period? How to have a fabulous contest, how to chair and master a fabulous contest, contest basics for contestants, how to be a law-abiding judge, how to be an honorable judge, how to have a terrific online contest, and breaking ballot room ties. So please mark your answers, which ones you watched. So far, we have 1 out of 5 people responding. Excellent. All right, we're up to 3. Great. 4. All right. We need just one more person, please. All right, well, thank you. And let me share the results with you. So every one of you watched How to Have a Fabulous Contest. Excellent. 2 of you watched How to Chair and Master a Fabulous Contest. 2 of you watched Contest Basics for Contestants. And 2 watched How to Have a Terrific Online Contest. Let's go to poll number 2. Before watching the training video, how comfortable were you with doing any of the individual roles yourself? So the roles, that would be judge, contest master, contest chair, etc. And then after watching the training videos, how comfortable are you with doing any of those individual roles yourself? If you could please mark your answers to both questions. And again, these are just the roles, not the whole contest. All right, I'm going to share the results here. We have some exciting news for the first one. Before watching, everyone felt fairly comfortable, but after watching, 3 out of 5 felt fairly comfortable, and 2 of you felt really comfortable. That is excellent. And there's one more poll that I would like to share with you before we get started. And this one is also a 2-parter, but a little bit different. Before watching the training videos, how comfortable were you with organizing the speech contest? And after watching the training videos, how comfortable are you with organizing the speech contest? So now you being the chief master of everything for speech contest. All right, excellent. And I will share the results. So before, we had 1 person that felt not comfortable at all. We had 2 people that felt fairly comfortable and 2 people that were really comfortable. After watching the videos, we had 2 people fairly comfortable, 3 people really comfortable. I think these are great results. So thank you, everyone. And at this time, we are ready to start our presentations.
I'm now going to call on Debbie Thompson, who will discuss area and division contest considerations. Toastmaster Thompson.
Thank you, Linda. All of the videos you've watched should have more of the details about contest, but we wanted to specifically go through the rule book and pick out things that might be applicable to area and division contest. So let's start with the officials that you will need, and I will go over all of this. This document is not in the rule book. It was pulled from information in the rule book, and I will be sharing it in chat for you. So you don't have to take notes on this. We'll give you the form. This has been put together, though, to show how many contest officials you will need for a contest. And so we start with the contest chair. A lot of times the contest chair for the area and division contest are the area and division directors. They do that because they are doing most of the planning, and it is something that they want to feel in charge of, to be able to handle issues as they come up. And so a lot of times they are the contest chair. And I will put in a plug for Pathways here. If you are a contest chair, have a contest team, are doing all of the work, find a project that you can use in Pathways to be able to get credit for it as being a contest chair. The second official you have to have is a contest master. The contest chair and contest master can be the same person. A lot of times, though, when you're doing an area or division contest, you may want to get someone else to be your contest master. And that is so that you would be able to deal with issues, handle things, get on the phone, get on text without having to manage the contest itself. And so a lot of times somebody else will be your contest master. Chief Judge is one of the most important, not the most important, but one of the most important officials that you can have, because they are the law the law seekers, the law abiders. They make sure that the contest is going by the contest rules. And so that is a very important position. And we have provided videos on both chief judge and judge so that you can go and get a lot more details on those positions. Then if we look at the judges that you will need for an area and a division contest, Linda, next, you'll see that for the area contest, the rule book says that you must have an equal number of voting judges from each area from each club in the area, or at least 5 voting judges. So it's giving you options there, and this is for the area. Next, if we look at the division, you must have an equal number of voting judges from each area in the division, or a minimum of 7 voting judges. And so those are the rules for that. You've got an either or in that situation as well. For both area division, all of the contest, a tie-breaking judge is a must. Always have a tie-breaking judge, and you'll notice that is a separate judge from what they call the voting judges. This is always important because even if you have an odd number of judges, you can still have a tie, and you need to make sure that in case of a tie, you've got the official way to actually break that tie. We have a line here on the form to have an extra judge, and that is just a recommendation if you can. And the reason we said that is because both in person and online, sometimes a judge might be late. Sometimes a judge may have technical problems. If they miss any of the contestants, then they really can't judge the whole contest. And so it's always good to have an extra judge if you can. That way, you can never have too many judges. It always balances out with the ranking, but that's just a recommendation. That is not something that the rule book says. For area and division, you have 2 timers. That has remained the same for a long time. Then in 2019, they came up with a change to the rules that said in an area and a division contest, you only have to have 2 ballot counters, not 3. And so that is something you'll notice for your area and division contest. You must have 3 ballot counters for a district contest. And then we've listed sergeant at arms. That's something that you need to look at from the standpoint of your contest. In a Zoom environment, it's typical that they have 1 to 2 sergeant at arms, particularly for the table topics contest and the evaluation contest. In a Zoom environment, that is so that you can have 1 sergeant at arms remain in the breakout room with the contestants, and 1 can usher the next contestant into the main waiting room. If you're in person, then you would need to at least have 2 sergeant at arms in a table topics and evaluation contest for the same reason we mentioned. And then you will have sergeant at arms for every entrance to your contest main room. And so you may, depending on how many doors you have or entrances you have, you may have that particular amount of sergeant at arms. And then for an evaluation contest, you would have a test speaker. And so this is the contest officials that you will need for your area and division contest. Next slide. Another rule that affects area is that contest officials must not serve in more than 1 role for the same contest. Now, in the area, it does make a distinction when practical. I think it's always a good rule, if you can, not to have more than 1 person in a role, but for division, district, region, and semifinals and finals, that is the rule. You cannot have 1 person do more than 1 role. Next. For the judges' qualifications in area and division contest, we've pulled this from the rule book. And you can see that at a club level, you just need to be a paid member in a club of good standing. In the area and division contest, I think Toastmasters International is saying that we need to have our judges be a little bit more seasoned when they are judging a contest. So they're asking for a judge to be a member for at least 6 months. If we look at the other qualifications, they have completed at least 6 speeches in the CC Competent Communicator Manual, or earn certificates of completion in levels 1 and 2 of any path in the Toastmaster Pathways learning experience. When they say earned certificates, that means that it has been approved in Pathways, but not necessarily submitted in Club Central. So that's what that distinction is. And then the rule book also amends it with only members who joined Toastmasters prior to the rollout of Pathways in their region can apply speeches from the CC manual. And so District 14 rolled out Pathways in May of 2018. And so I think the real takeaway here is finish your Pathways level 1 and 2, so there won't be any question, and you won't have to do any kind of research. And then the third thing is they must be physically present at the contest for which they're serving. And so in person, of course, that's obvious. On Zoom, then it counts that they are in person on the Zoom video. Next slide. Judges qualifications, and this is from the rule book at the division and district levels, but it says that a chief judge, voting judges, and the tiebreaker judge must not be a member of any club in which the contestant is a member. And so this is specifically written for the division contest. However, I do think it's a best practice, if you can, if possible, to extend this rule to the area contest as well. And one of the reasons for that is it's very hard to be, not to be impartial when you're judging someone of your own club, especially if you've seen them speaking a lot. And I had this personal experience where I was judging an area contest with one of my members in the contest. And I say that because I was trying so hard not to favor him, that I think I didn't give him as many points as I should have. And so I went totally the other way, trying to be fair. And I don't think that was fair to him at all. And so if you can extend this rule to the area contest as well, I think that's best practice. Next slide. When we talk about contestants eligibility, there is a rule in the rule book that a contestant cannot compete in more than one area contest. If you are a member of multiple clubs, you can compete in any of the club contests that you want to. However, once a contestant gets to the area level, they must choose. Even if they're in different divisions or districts, you have to only compete in one area. And so that's very important. And then this rule is also listed on the speaker's certification of eligibility and originality when they sign it. However, it's in small letters, so they may not catch this, but that is something that you want to check when you're doing eligibility, that they are only competing in one area contest. Next slide. The resources that we've used, I wanted to just point out that, of course, we look at the contest rule book, and that's something that's very important. You also want to look through the rule book and see that if there are any diamonds beside any of the rules, that means it is something that is new for that particular contest year. Another resource that you might not think about is actually the forms themselves. A lot of times the forms have information on them that can be very helpful. As an example, the timers record form actually has a lot of information about the times for the different contests, and it has other things listed. So sometimes your forms can be a really good resource. And the other thing you may not think about, there are speech contests frequently asked questions. And so that is something that Toastmasters puts online, that you can go and check out the frequently asked questions. It talks about, for example, props and things like that, and how to consider those. And so that may be something as an area or division director that you just want to go out and read those over and make sure you understand them, because that does answer a lot of questions for you. Linda, at this point, I think that's everything that we pulled from the rule book specifically for area and divisions. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Thompson. We're now going to move on to our next part. Common questions that people have, and I will call on Toastmaster Trina Mackey to lead us through this. Trina?
Thank you, Linda. We will now review some common questions regarding speech contests. But of course, if you still have questions, please put those questions in chat and we will discuss those later on. Our first question, do clubs need to actually hold an official Toastmasters speech contest to select their club contestants? Actually, no. Clubs can choose their contestants any way they would like. However, if a club decides to hold an actual contest, that contest, it must comply with all official contest rules and the result is final. For instance, if you have a speech contest at the club level and you have 3 contestants and all contestants are disqualified by time, then your club will not have a contestant going to the area contest. You cannot then decide to select someone to represent your club. So you can choose any way you like for your contestants, but be mindful of the methods that you choose in the event you choose to have an actual club contest. When exactly should I hold my contest? Choose a date and time that is convenient for your club, area, or division. But be mindful and make sure that you complete your contest by the communicated deadline by District 14. For table topics, this will be the end of October for your clubs, the end of November for the areas, and the end of December or end of March for divisions. General Procedure A.1 of the contest rulebook states, at club contests, a contest chair, chief judge, and at least 5 voting judges, a tie-breaking judge, 2 counters, and 2 timers are appointed unless practical. What if we can't get all these contest officials? The speech contest team thinks that the bare minimum would be a contest chair, a chief judge, 1 timer, 1 counter, and 1 voting judge. If more than 1 voting judge is appointed, then a tie-breaking judge would be needed. At area level and above, the stated number of officials is required. You don't have any wiggle room there, but those are required. The contest rulebook states that if an area has 4 assigned clubs or fewer in good standing, districts have the option to allow 2 contestants from each club to compete in the area contest. Will District 14 allow that this year? For District 14 has decided that only 1 contestant from each club can compete in the area contest. The contest rulebook also states that if a division has 4 assigned areas or fewer, districts have the option to allow the 2 highest place available contestants from each area to compete in the division contest. Will District 14 allow that this year? This year, District 14 has decided that only 1 contestant from each area can compete in the division contest. Can area directors or division directors serve as a chief judge, voting judge, or a tie-breaking judge? Absolutely, as long as they meet the eligibility requirements that were discussed by Toastmaster Thompson, but we can go over those again if needed. Do I need someone who has been certified as a chief judge to fill that role at my area contest? Actually, there's no such thing as a certified chief judge. You do need an individual who has read and understands the rule book and who has listened and understand this year's training videos, law-abiding judge, honorable chief judge, and terrific online contest.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mackey. I now call on Toastmaster Joanne Sheets to lead us through a high-level overview of the Table Topics Contest. Toastmaster Sheets.
Thank you, Linda. Good evening, everyone. I will share some points about the high-level overview of the high-level Table Topics Contest. The contest chair prepares one Table Topics topic. All of the contestants, except the first one, along with a sergeant at arms, are placed in a separate area or separate room. You know why? Because we don't want the remaining contestants to hear the question. One more point. Electronic devices are not allowed. Again, because if you got that, you can dial up your phone or somebody can send you a text and say, look, this was the question, be prepared. So I suggest no electronic devices be allowed. Each contestant is presented with the same topic and they must stay on topic. Think about when we're at a regular meeting, if you ask a table topics question or a table topics statement, you might say, I don't think I want to answer that, but I want to tell you about my best vacation, where the question might have been, or the statement may have been, tell us about your worst vacation. Well, in the contest, you have to stay on topic. And remember that you have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. If you speak less than 1 minute, then you're disqualified. And if you speak more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you're disqualified. After the first contestant has finished speaking, a second sergeant at arms escorts the next contestant into the main room. So first speaker speaks, is done, then the sergeant at arms brings the second contestant in to speak. Let me remind you that, and I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but once the contestants have answered the topic, then they remain in the room for the rest of the contest. When all of the contestants have spoken, have responded to the table topics topic, the chief judge and the ballot counters are taken to a private room or a breakout room if you're online to determine who the winner is. They count the ballots, they complete the necessary forms, and they send that, the chief judge then sends the results notification form to the contest chair. The winner of the contest competes at the next level, the next contest level. For example, we're now having our club contest, so the winner at the club level competes at the area level. The winner of the area level competes at the division level, and the winner of the division level competes at the district level. So those are just a few overview facts about the current contests that are going on among our clubs right now. Back to you, Toastmaster Rogers.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sheets. We will now move on and talk about how areas can partner together to hold contests. I'm going to take down the PowerPoint at the moment and invite Toastmaster Laura Olson to lead us in that discussion. Laura?
Thank you very much, Linda. And everyone, we know how difficult it can be to get all of the officiants that you need for your contest, whether they be area or division. Therefore, we want to, as a panel, share some of our past experiences of how we've overcome those challenges. And I would like to start first with Linda Rogers, who is my division director twice. And I know during the pandemic is when she took over, and we had to do that several times. So Linda, do you mind sharing some of your best practices?
Thank you, Toastmaster Olson. As Laura said, I did serve as division director during the pandemic for 2 consecutive years. And during that time, all of our contests and the TLIs were done online. So what the area directors and I did was hold joint area director contest or area contest for speeches we would select a day and a 2-hour time block, and we would just go from one area contest to the next, to the next, to the next, kind of beginning and ending each contest. I think we waited until the very end and then announced all the winners, one right after the other for the areas. But by doing it this way, we were able to join forces. We could have one contest master for the entire event, or maybe two, one for the first half and one for the second half. We found judges and ballot counters and timers, etc., who were qualified to do those roles for the entire 2-hour period across all of the areas. As you got into the division level contest, you had to be more careful because your judges could not be members of any of the clubs that the contestants were from, but we were able to find people who could judge the entire 4 areas at one time. And this allowed us to join forces. You know, we were already online. We would choose Zoom masters who could work the entire 2-hour period for spotlighting, breakout rooms, etc. It was really helpful to be able to do it that way versus each area having to come up with their own solution for everything. When you join forces, it makes a lot more sense. Back to you, Toastmaster Olson.
Thank you. And Linda, one thing I'd like to share that I think made all of those successful, we were new to doing online contests, and the amount of preparation, we had meetings, we had dry runs, and at times people are like, oh my gosh, another meeting. But I tell you what, it paid off. Obviously, things always happen, even like they do in an in-person contest, but behind the scenes, our people that joined didn't know that things did not go off as planned. And I saw the preparation. It's amazing. I cannot stress that enough, Linda. You were definitely an example of what great preparation does. So thank you.
Well, thank you for those comments. And it is true, when you are doing contests online, you need to practice ahead of time. And people, you can get people maybe twice. You won't be able to get them 3 times, but make sure that you brief your judge team, brief your judicial team, and then make sure you brief your contestants and your Zoom masters for what they are supposed to do. And then keep your contestants and your Zoom master and actually do a walkthrough of the contest, practice handing control from one person to the next, so that when you actually have your contest, it will run smoothly. Thank you, Toastmaster Olson.
And one other thing I'd like to comment on that, Linda, is the importance of backups. And if you want to share the experience of the Zoom Master when you had a backup and the reason it was good.
Oh, yes, that was an interesting tale. I helped with a TLI event one time, and the person who was the main Zoom Master, who had the PowerPoint and was going to be moving through the slides, etc., as people were talking, he lost power at his house 45 minutes before the event was supposed to start, and there was no way it was going to get fixed before he had to get on. So he drove down the road and found a Panera with free Wi-Fi and set up at Panera. But it turns out that you only get free Wi-Fi for 2 hours unless you buy something. And he wasn't buying anything, you know, he was heads down with running the PowerPoint. So when the 2-hour time stopped, his internet got cut off. Fortunately, in the TLI, it was a point where there was some sort of a discussion going on and PowerPoint wasn't actually being shown. And he just frantically communicated with other people, and someone else also had the PowerPoint on her machine. And so she brought up the PowerPoint, and she then became the regular Zoom master, the main Zoom master for the rest of the event. So having backups in so many of your roles is really important on any contest, but especially when you're talking about an online contest. Toastmaster Olson.
All right, you are off the hook. I think those are the last questions that I have for you. Debbie, not only are you a 5-time DTM, I know you've served as area and division director several times. You obviously have some best practices you can share with us about how you got help from other clubs for your contest.
Thank you, Laura. So when we were when I was the division director, of course, this was all we were still in person, but I think you can apply this in Zoom as well. We had 4 area directors in my division. And so we didn't do them all in one day. We did them 2 at a time. And so our area directors partnered with another area director, but it also freed up the additional area directors to help in some role. And so we had, of course, the area director who was responsible for that contest was the contest chair. She freed herself, or they freed themselves up so they wouldn't have any other responsibilities as far as role goes, so they could take care of things that might come up. You never know in a contest what might come up, what you need to be able to do. And so this freed them up from having to be a judge or a contest master. So out of 4 area directors, you had 3 that didn't have a specific role. They would help with the contest master, they could be judges. And so we were able to use the other area directors in support roles. Then, as you said, we shared officials. And so we did 2 of the area directors did it one day, and 2 of the other area directors did it on a different day. So we actually had 2 contests. One thing I think we learned, though, and this was, when we were in person years ago, we used to call in the contestants and the judges and have the briefing an hour before the contest. That is crazy because so much is going on. You don't have people don't have forms. They're looking for things. Contestants are crazy. And so we learned to have not Zoom, but we started having contest briefings online ahead of time. And so we would have free conference calls before Zoom was so popular, but we would have the briefings ahead of time just before the contest. So you had that out of the way. You didn't have to worry about it on contest day. Contest day was just for issues that might come up last minute, but you didn't have to worry about, I've got to brief everybody. And so I think that was helpful, but doing it in partnership, I think helped us with less officials that we had to get. And it was just a great team building event as well for all the area directors to support each other.
Well, thank you for sharing. Trina, I know that you've been my area director several times. Do you have any experiences that you'd like to share with us?
Thank you, Laura. I would like to chime in and agree 1,000% that practice makes perfect. There's strength in numbers. So as much as possible, partner with other areas, to make sure that you are putting on the absolute best contest that you can. You can never over prepare and things will happen, but it's best that you are as prepared as possible and do not take for granted the benefit of having a script written out. Everything that you think you will say, write it out. Every if, and, or but, you don't think about it, but in that moment, when it's lights, camera, action, you may freeze up and everything will just leave your mind and you're thinking, what am I supposed to be saying? If you have your script, you can at least refocus yourself and you can continue on. So as much as possible, practice, 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 partner, 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 and have a fabulous contest. Thank you, Toastmaster Olson.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mackey, and Toastmaster Sheets. You've also been an area director. What experiences have you had partnering?
Thank you, Toastmaster Olson. I had the wonderful experience of working with all of you, which made such a difference. Let me just say ditto to everything that everybody has said, but let me add an extra P. Plan, plan, plan. What I saw with Linda when she was division director, we always had a schedule or spreadsheet of who was doing what was supposed to happen when, who was following up with whom, when was that going to happen. So by the time the contest happened, we were okay. In fact, we were better than okay because the contest turned out very well. There may have been some glitches, but we learned from those and we were able for the next contest to consider all the glitches that we had, which were few, and to improve upon those the next time around. So practice and planning and practice and more planning are important to having a fabulous contest.
Thank you,
Laura.
Toastmaster Sheets. And again, I totally agree. Practice is so important. I use a sports analogy that practice should be hard so that the game is easy. And that's how you want it to be for your contest or TLIs, whatever you're doing. The more you practice and prepare, it's going to be much easier when you come to the event. The other thing I like to mention is the importance of networking within Toastmasters. That is one thing I would say the best piece of advice I got from one of my former division directors, Lisa Coleman, that said, when you ask Toastmasters for help, they will come. And it is so true. I saw a perfect example of this week. We were having our ADP Augusta Toastmasters meeting on Monday night, and we got an email from another club in our area asking for help. We had people jump up and help, and they are ready for their speech contest next week. So use your resources. We all want to help each other. And definitely by helping one another, you may someday need help. You may think you don't, but you put that emotional bank account, put that money in there, and then you can go and withdraw to have someone else help you. Any other comments from our panelists or any questions from our participants today?
Laura, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
We do have a comment from Karen Jakes, I'm sorry, in the chat. She says,
Okay.
since all contests may have a virtual component, do you recommend the briefings take place during the run of show rehearsal several days before the actual contest? And I think that is a great idea. It also lets you, during the contestants briefing, you can let them practice and make sure their connectivity is good, their audio is good. It helps you with everything. When we have the judges briefing, you can practice how they get their votes to the chief judge and ballot counters. And so it's a dual thing there. You can do the briefings and then do the practices at the same time. So that's a great idea.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I see a hand raised. Sadia.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I just want to make sure that I have it correct. When we select the judges for the division contest, are you saying that we should get judges only from our division?
No.
Okay.
No, you can get judges from anywhere. Sister divisions may be able to help you. You can get, you know, I've heard someone at a TLI say one of the reasons they attended TLI was to get names and networks so they could get judges for their contests at the TLI sessions.
Oh.
So you can you can get them from anywhere. We were just saying, I was just saying when we did it, sometimes the area directors were able to help out as judges when we needed them to. And so that was, you know, something within our division, but
Okay.
that
All
is
right.
not.
Thanks.
Rodney, I know you had, oh, Rodney, your hand is back up.
Yes, and I also would suggest that you let the contestants know importance of backup too, because I actually got disqualified from the contest because my internet went out. And so I didn't have a backup, and it caused me going advancing to a higher level because I was doing, everybody said I was doing a good job. So that's another thing too. Let your contestants know to have a backup with their equipment.
Well, and another thing that brought to mind, Rodney, is just that we always tell, so when you're going from your area contest to your division contest, we always ask our second and third place winners to attend because you just never know what's going to happen. And we have had I think it was an in-person contest where we actually had the second place winner of an area step in at the division contest. So make sure that everybody attends. And for moral support, it's important too. And it also allows you to hear great speakers. Oh, I see your hand up, Trina. You're on mute.
I'm sorry,
double
yes.
mute.
Toastmaster Olson, I just wanted to chime in. We actually had that happen in our club for the humorous speech. I think it was a humorous speech. Well, our first place contestant, the actual day of the contest had an emergency and could not attend. And luckily, the second place winner was able to attend. So things can happen at the very last minute. Again, prepare. Have that second, third place winner in queue, just in case something happens with first place winner. You want to make sure that your club, your area is represented. So make sure you have those things in place ahead of time, which goes back to you cannot over prepare. So be as prepared as you can for contests, including watching those training videos and attending question and answer sessions. And that's my shameless plug, and I'm done.
Thank you. And I see Toastmaster Jakes had a question. She wants confirmation. She said, we've always combined our area contests on one day. She would like confirmation on closing out each area contest before moving to the next level. And I can tell you, we would have an intermission between each area contest. However, and Linda, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think we waited to the end to announce all the winners, but we did have a clean break in between each area contest. I see Toastmaster Rogers nodding her head, yes.
Yes, that is true. That is true. We have done it that way. We've taken a definite break, even if it's only saying we will have 1 minute of silence before we start our next contest. But we waited until the very end to announce the winners for all of 4 area contests, just to keep people around. I mean, in one sense, it was to keep the audience around too, so people wouldn't leave, and then just to heighten the excitement at the end. And it was just easier that way.
And I remember there was many times we had only one person competing for an area. But again, they have to compete to make sure they meet time qualifications. And that's one thing that if you're in that situation, please tell your contestant, the minute they see that red light, stop. Even if they're not done, they're not going to be judged. They will automatically win if they are the only contestant, as long as they meet the time qualification. And there was someone shared that they had been in that situation and the person didn't stop and they were disqualified. So they had no one from the area to move on. We don't want that to happen.
That is true. That is true. Well, it sounds like this section for having or telling areas how they can combine with other areas to do their contest sounds like it's kind of at a close. So let me go ahead and thank you, Toastmaster Olson, for leading us through this. Let me go ahead and share my screen for just a moment to say that we are ready to move on to just general question time. What do you need the most help with? And what is missing from the training videos? We would like to know that too. I'm going to take down my PowerPoint and just have everyone here, if you would take me off of Spotlight, and let's just talk about what questions you have and what you really need to know. I will ask you questions also if you don't speak. Who has already got their area contest planned, have a date and time selected for them? Except everybody unmute. Yes, so Sadia does.
We had a time, but somebody already took it, Division H.
What do you mean already took it? Already borrowed the Zoom account?
They had it for, we wanted to do it on the 19th, but they're having theirs on the 19th.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of don't want to compete against somebody else because you might be wanting to use some of the same people to help do your contest. Sadia, your hand is up. Was it with a question or were you just saying, yes, we've already scheduled our area contests?
I'm sorry, I didn't lower it in time, but yes, we the area directors in Division C have combined their contest, 2 areas combined together, and then I've scheduled the division for December the 17th.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I do have a question about the division. I had someone to inquire because they, can I make that decision to say all the contests will be in the fall because someone wanted their table topics contest in the spring, one club. So,
The clubs need to identify their table topics contestants by the end of October, period. Right, so they can't have their contest for table topics in January. They need to have it. They need to identify their contestants by the end of October.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, the only real decision is whether the division wants to hold their table topics contest in December or wait and do it in March with the international contest.
Okay, all right, perfect, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, Division F will be holding their combined area contest in November. But we will do our combined speech contest, the table topics and the international at the division level in March.
In March, good. And sometimes when you schedule your speech contest, it depends on how many contestants you will actually have and the length of the time of the speeches to determine whether you can do them all in the same 2-hour period. If you have humorous and international, which we don't this year, but if you had that combination and you had all of your areas have speakers, you may or may not want to do the humorous and international on the same evening. It just all depends on how many areas you have, how many speakers you have. If you have every club sending a contestant to the area contest, you'd probably need to do international on one day and humorous on another day. But with table topics, it just depends. It just depends.
I can give you an example and actually concur with, depending on the type of contest that you do to combine, because evaluation and international is a long night or a long day. We found that we had ours at night and it was a long night, mainly because you have the target speaker for the evaluation and then 2 to 3 minute evaluations. So that's a pretty long one. You might not think so, but it is. And then you have 5 to 7 minute international speeches, and you've combined the areas in our instance. So you have 3 areas of that going on at the same time. So we probably won't do that again.
It can be a challenge. And one of the hard things about this, I think, challenging things about it, is that sometimes you don't know until the last minute how many contestants you're really going to have. If you schedule your contest on November the 5th and your clubs really delay in telling you who their contestants will be, you might find that you have more contestants than you thought you might have, or have very few contestants that you thought you might have, since you just don't know. And then there's a challenge, especially at the division levels on up, of knowing who you can get as voting judges, because they're not supposed to be members of the same clubs of any of the contestants, but you didn't find out the contestants till a week ago. So scrambling to line up your judges, or you have people on hold just in case they can, depending upon who the contestants really are. So there's some last minute types of things that have to go on too. Yeah. So what questions do people have about training videos, about the contests that they need to run? You've got the team here, so ask those questions.
Linda, before we go into something else, I'd love to hear from them. I did find a clarification in the rule book about the announcement of winners when you're having an event like that. So
good. Okay.
And I will share that if I can find it. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. Pick the wrong. Here we go. Sorry. Okay. So this actually says winners must be announced prior to the end of the event. So if we look at this, it says, if the contest is the only event taking place, winners must be announced before the contest adjourns. If multiple contests are taking place as part of a larger conference or event, winners from all contestants must be announced before the end of the event or conference. If there are multiple contests taking place at one event, each contest must officially adjourn. So you have to adjourn that area contest. However, the winners could be announced at the very end before the event is adjourned. I hope that helps.
So
Ooh,
what
Linda,
I'm,
we were doing it right.
it sounds like we were. We kind of concluded each area contest, took a short break,
Right.
came back, but then announced all of the winners for everything at the end. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie. What other questions? Is there anything in the videos, the training videos that we could add? Any points that were unclear? Any subjects that might have been left out? We wanted to make them as complete and accurate as possible, but at the same time, not get down into those real nitty gritty things.
I think you did that.
You think they were as complete and accurate as possible? Yeah,
I think so.
thank you.
Toastmaster Rogers, I have them. Oh, sorry.
No, go
Toastmaster
ahead.
Jake, you go. You go.
I thought that they were good. As a matter of fact, I took training and actually learned how to do contests at the district level from JD and Kathleen.
Mhm.
And they threw me as a contest master in humor speech contest that I had never done. So sometimes you get training by fire because they feel like you can handle it. But I also turned around and took judges training again. I had all of that training. I think the videos that you have allow some of us who may think we know it all and teach us that we don't always know it all, and that it changes from year to year or time to time. And you can go back and refresh yourself in the things that maybe you weren't well versed at. So I think they were great.
Thank you for that feedback. I know I've definitely learned some things just being a part of this team where I thought it worked one way, but maybe it worked a different way. And I never had those circumstances come up, but now I do know what to do if they do. And most certainly I didn't know that there could be some really strong ties on the ballots for the voting judges that would have to be done in a special way using the tiebreaker ballot. I thought it would be very clear from the tiebreaker's ballot which person won, but if you've got two people tied for second place from the voting judges, how in the world do you break that? I would not have known had I not listened to JD's video on that.
And Linda, that was my question. I guess before I go on, Karen, one thing I want to echo too is you took it from your training from JD and from Kathleen. Think about it. That was when we were in person, and things change with online and we have a lot of questions. That's why I think even if we think we're pros now at doing online, we need to refresh ourselves. But how comfortable are people with tie-breaking judges? Because I too learned a lot. I thought I knew about how to break a tie, and I obviously did not. So thank you for this training. I learned.
Yes, yes. Any other questions that people have or anything that the team wants to share? Trina.
My question to our participants, who is ready to run a fabulous contest?
I'm ready.
Yay!
Yes, I'm
Thank
definitely
you.
ready. And I do want to thank you all because it's been so clear, especially the form to let us know who the participants should be for the contest. That's a great way for a chair to be able to organize and plug people in. So that's been very helpful. And I agree with Karen. You think you know, especially being judges in the past years, but this has been, it made me, you know how you turn on a training and you're like, oh, I'll just listen. And I started listening. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I need to watch every bit of this. And it really got my attention. So thank you all for being so thorough.
Well, thank you for that comment. I want to give a shout out to JD Dirkschneider, who has had to leave for something else at the moment, but she was the one who suggested that the training approach this year be videos that we record and put out on the District 14 Training's YouTube channel so that people could watch those videos on their own time, multiple times if they need to, etc., and just really learn from them. And we've had a lot of hits on those videos. I mean, 40 and 50 and 60 hits on those videos. So people have been watching them. And especially when you wake in the morning at 2 o'clock and you go, oh no, I have to do an area contest. I don't know how to do X, Y, or Z. You can go out and look at those videos. And we just thought it was a very effective training process. And I think, Laura, did you have a question, or Debbie, a statement?
I just had a comment, and I can remember back when I was an area director, and one of the very first things I had to do was a contest. First we had TLI, and then all of a sudden we had to do contests, and I consider myself fairly new, but it was overwhelming. And I think if you talk about the rule book, the forms, the FAQs, I mean, there's so much to it. So I wanted just to say to our audience today, if you see something that you want us to spend more time on or put into a video by itself, that's one of the reasons we came up with how to break a tie in a video by itself. We're doing how to deal with protest and disqualifications in a video by itself. If you all think of anything that would help, honestly, let us know. This is what the team is here for. We want to make it easier for you, and we want to highlight anything you don't understand, or if you say it would be great if we had a script for that, feel free to say something to us. Send Linda an email or send Marion an email and let us know what we can do to help you.
Thank you, Debbie. Laura, did you have your hand up too?
I don't think I did, but before we leave, and I don't want to end this conversation, but I want to do another poll.
Yes, we do. Hold on.
May I launch it? Thank you. So our last, and Trina kind of asked, but now that you've attended today's Q&A session, do you think you could organize and hold a speech contest? Yes, absolutely. Maybe, but I still have answers. No, I'm way out of my depth. Help. Right, I am going to go ahead and share our results, saying yes. We had 3 out of 4 saying yes, absolutely, that's amazing. And only one person said maybe, but I still have questions. If you have questions, and let me share the results. Sorry, there they are. But if you have questions, we are still here. There will be additional trainings, and Linda, you will probably cover that about international. I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Olson. One of the things that we want to share with you, many of you know the tune. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Well, if you're happy with this training, tell your friends. If you're happy with this training, tell your friends. If you're happy with this training, then you'll want to share the news. If you're happy with this training, tell your friends. Please spread the word about the training videos. All of the Q&A sessions are also being recorded and will be put on the District 14 Training's YouTube channel, so they can also be looked at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep. We do not have any trainings or Q&A sessions in November because you'll be heads down doing your contest. We will start again in December to help prepare people, the clubs, for January contest. do some more Q&As in January for the February area contest and February for the March contest. After that, we're not sure what we're going to be doing. But I want to thank all of you for coming to today's Q&A session. Please let us know when your contest will be. If we can be of any help, reach out, and if we can help you, we will. But do not hesitate to reach out to ask any questions that you may still have. And finally, thank you for coming today.
Linda, one
Thank
last
you very
shameless plug.
much.
Make sure you download the most current speech contest rulebook, 2022, 2023.
Thank you.